Have you ever felt like being authentic online is basically a full-time job? Or, wondered why we share everything, even when we know all the risks? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and dive into the hidden psychology of our digital lives, based on some really fascinating work by Ciaran McMahon.
So let's just jump right in with the big question, right? The one that sits at the very heart of everything we do online. When you're building that profile, when you're posting that update, or adding a friend, who is the you that you're really putting out there for the world to see?
Okay, so our journey has to start where every social media account begins, with the profile. This is our little corner of the internet, right? It's the digital storefront for who we are. But how we actually build that storefront, well, it's way more complicated than you might think.
To really get this, just look at the wild case of a gay girl in Damascus back in 2011. It turns out this whole detailed, convincing persona was actually created by a 40-year-old American man, and he fooled everyone, even major news outlets. This story is just perfect because it captures the central tension of our online selves. It is shockingly easy to create a complete fiction, but we are absolutely terrified of being found out.
So how do we build our own online identities? Well, what the research shows is that we instinctively show who we are, we don't just tell. I mean, think about it. Almost nobody, less than 8% of people, actually fills out the About Me box. Instead, we piece together our identity through the photos we post, the interests we list, the things we like. It's not a biography. It's more like a carefully built mosaic of little clues.
And all this showing, man, it can take a surprising amount of work. Just get a load of this real example from a study. To keep up his cool music guy identity, this person would literally play music silently on his computer, just so the right songs would pop up on his profile for his friends to see. It's this constant profile work that, ironically, can make the whole project to being authentic feel completely fake. And all of this leads to this really fundamental contradiction in how we behave online. Psychologists have a name for it. They call it the privacy paradox. It's this weird thing where we all say we care about privacy, we know the risks are real, and yet we keep uploading tons and tons of personal information to build these digital selves.
Okay, so if we're willing to trade our privacy to build these detailed profiles, what's the payoff? Well, it's all about our connections. Let's dig into how our network of friends and followers actually gives us real, tangible value in our lives, something researchers call social capital.
Remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? Of course you do. That was a perfect, massive example of how you can mobilize a network for a cause. I mean, it raised over $100 million. But what about the value we get from our networks, day to day?
Psychologists basically break it down into two main types of social capital. First, you've got bonding capital. This is that deep emotional support you get from your inner circle, the people who would drop absolutely everything to help you out. And then there's bridging capital. This is the value you get from your wider network of acquaintances, like when someone shares a useful article or, hey, a job opportunity.
Now here's the really crucial part. Different platforms are literally built for different kinds of capital. Something like Snapchat, which you use with a small group of your closest friends, is amazing for building that deep, bonding capital. On the other hand, Facebook, with its huge network of people from school, work, and your extended family, is basically a machine for generating that bridging capital.
But here's the catch. Even with all these powerful platforms, it turns out our brains have a hardwired limit. And this brings us to a really famous idea from anthropology, Dunbar's number. It suggests that we can only really maintain stable social relationships with about 150 people. And even inside that 150, our social brain has layers. We have a sympathy group of about 15 really close friends, and then a core support clique of maybe 5 people for our deepest emotional needs. And here's the kicker. Even with thousands of Facebook friends, social media doesn't seem to make those crucial inner circles any bigger. Technology expands our reach, sure, but not our capacity for deep connection.
So this creates this massive social headache that researchers call context collapse. See, online, all your different social circles, your family, your coworkers, your old college friends, they all get flattened into one single audience. So that edgy joke you tell your best friend, yeah, it's now being read by your boss and your grandmother at the exact same time.
So let's talk about what happens when we actually try to broadcast a message to that collapsed audience, when we hit post on a status update and send it into the feed.
Back in 2010, a guy named Paul Chambers tweeted this message out of sheer frustration. Now to him, it was just a dumb joke for his followers, but the authorities, they saw it very, very differently. It led to his arrest and a legal battle that went on for years. It's an extreme case for sure, but it perfectly shows how we say things online we would never dream of saying in person. So, why? Why does this happen?
Well, the answer lies in something psychologists call the online disinhibition effect. It's this powerful cocktail of factors. First, you've got anonymity and invisibility. You feel like you're unseen. You're not really you. Then there's asynchronicity. You post something and you don't have to deal with the immediate reaction on someone's face. And finally, there's this feeling of minimized authority. It just feels like a world without any rules. You put all that together and our normal social filters just disappear.
Now, when we think about managing our privacy to avoid these kinds of problems, we're usually only dealing with the tip of the iceberg. We focus on what's visible, right? The posts, the likes, the comments, the privacy settings we can click on and off. This is the fun, social, interactive part of the platform that we see.
But the real story is the massive, hidden part of that iceberg, lurking below the surface. This is where all our data gets collected, aggregated, and tracked. It's our entire digital footprint, used by the platforms for ad targeting and who knows what else, in ways we can't even begin to see. That sense of control we feel, yeah, it really only applies to that tiny, visible tip.
And this gets us to the immense pressure we all feel. Modern social media feeds are run by algorithms, and these algorithms reward one thing: engagement. If you're not posting, not liking, not sharing, the algorithm basically makes you invisible. You have to understand, in this system, participation is existence. If you don't post, you don't exist.
So, finally, what are the long-term consequences of living a life that's so completely documented by these systems? It's time to talk about our digital ghosts. Researchers have started talking about this new phenomenon they call time collapse. See, unlike an old paper diary that you can put away in a box, our digital past is always present. It's always just a search away. That tweet you sent 10 years ago can pop up today. And that creates this bizarre new pressure to seem like the same person over your entire life.
This quote from a young reporter in a study just says it all, doesn't it? The digital natives, the people growing up today, they face a challenge that no generation before them ever had to deal with. Their teenage mistakes, their bad fashion choices, their youthful blunders, all of it is archived and potentially searchable forever.
So here's the big takeaway. By understanding these unseen rules, from how we build our profiles to context collapse to the pressure from the algorithm, we can start to become more conscious, more aware users of these platforms. And that leaves us with one last, really crucial question to think about. We give these platforms our friendships, our identities, our memories. We give them our psychology. What are we really getting in return?